Hey everyone, welcome back. This is episode 5 of the Simple and Effective Drum Recording Techniques series, but it's kind of episode 4 part 2 because we're still talking toms. Now, last time around, we were talking about the Sennheiser MD421, which is like the ubiquitous tom mic. We did a load of listening, we did a load of processing that to get it sounding mix ready, and we should be pretty used by now to how it sounds on its own and also kind of in context of a drum mix. But we can take tom recording and recording generally further than that. The Sennheiser MD421 is a really good middle-of-the-road mic. It does everything pretty well, but there are some mics which will do a nice full round low end better. There are some mics which will do really beautiful detailed top end better. So what we're going to do today is listen to some different drums. You may have noticed in the last video that there were some channels of audio we didn't listen to yet, and that's because I recorded 3 sets of mics on those exact same toms, that exact same performance, so that we can A/B them. We've got our 421s, we've got Shure SM57s, and we have another Sennheiser mic, the 441. I know there's a lot of 4s and 1s in mic names. I don't know why that is. They're all dynamic mics, but they all sound very different to each other. So why don't we start having a listen to them on their own? We'll listen to them then in context, and we'll start learning a bit about how mics can sound different to each other, and we'll start going down that road, which is basically what recording is all about, making subjective decisions, why we think one or the other will do a job better for us, and when we might want to swap things out. So let's dive straight in. Yeah, 3 very different sounding mics, right? The 421's, like I say, nice middle ground. The 57s just push the focus up in frequency a little bit, don't they? Because they got that 400 hertz kind of dip. They just tighten up the sound a little bit. They don't have any kind of flab to them. They widen off the transient a bit more, I think, as well. 57s are actually really good for if you want that tea-towelsy tom sound without much like actual tone of the drum, just a kind of thugga, thugga, thugga. Try them, because it really brings out the transient in a cool way. The 441s, on the other hand, really warm, really pillowy, really veiled. Actually, I think that's where the floor tom sounds the best. Check it out again. I'll play the 421s, then the 441s. Just feels a bit more just like a nice picture of that drum. So I mean, there's nothing to stop you using a 421 on a rack and a 441 on the floor. In fact, let's try that. There's this kind of just like understated, it just makes senseness kind of to that 441 actually. I wasn't expecting to hear that, but sometimes it just sounds like there isn't actually a mic on a thing. You're just hearing the drum. Like that's what matching up mics to instruments is all about. You kind of want to step out the way a little bit, still bring stuff to the table, not be totally transparent. Like you still need to be emphasizing the good things and just minimizing the bad things. But that 441 kind of does that. And it just feels like it kind of makes a bit more sense. And the other thing that might have jumped out to you there is the differences in spill between all those mics. The 441, I think that's a hypercardioid mic. So it's just picking up less of like the hi-hat and the snare, especially, you can kind of notice. So that might be a useful thing. That might be irrelevant, but it's something to bear in mind. Basically, the question to be asking yourself is, what role are the drums meant to be playing in this song? And it depends on the song, the genre, the production, kind of everything. But just on a case-by-case basis, sometimes the drums just want to sit back. So maybe you want mics that don't take up a lot of room in your mix. Maybe you want kind of a warmer sound. Or maybe you want the 57s, which will just kind of say, hey, here are some toms, and then just get out the way. Or if your toms need to sound really full and really clear, then maybe you want 421s, or even something like a 414, like a proper large diaphragm condenser that'll just present this really nice, stately kind of version of that. It's to all be played around with. Now, I think 421s are a great starting point, like I say. If you want to experiment, but without boxing yourself in, what I often do is record more than one mic option on things like this. I'll record the one that I know is like a safe bet, and then I'll record like a B option. And that means you're not stuck with just that oddball. You've got it too, and you can carry that all the way through to the mix and see how it works in the final production, in the whole context of everything. That's super, super useful. More so, I think, than just listening to things in isolation. Because sometimes things that make sense on their own don't make sense when the drums are kind of like buried under a lot of other stuff, or you kind of just have more of a clear idea of how you want the whole production to hang together. And this is when we really start getting into the nitty-gritty as recording engineers. It's all about understanding how things work and understanding how to get the little marginal gains out of everything. I hope that's really been useful for you. Like, I really hope you'll take this and feel free to just experiment a little bit, like try things out. Yes, this is a great starting point. And actually, to be fair, if you stuck with just 421s, you really can't go too far wrong. But why don't you use this as a chance just to dip your toe into the range of possibilities we have out there? Get out some oddball mics from the mic cupboard, or even just other usual things you wouldn't usually think to put there, and see how they sound. Might be great. There's only one way to find out as well. So have a great session, and more importantly, have fun. I'll see you in the next episode where we're going to be talking about drum room mics. And until then, have a great session, and I'll see you soon.